Crack changed the environment in a way that is absolutely profound. Crack cocaine changed the environment, and we can't get away from it. I don't think we're having a big enough discussion about it. I don't think we've thought it all the way through, but it changed the game. It changed the dynamic in such profound ways that some of the traditional ways we reach out don't apply. I maintain that crack cocaine became modern slavery. What did slavery do to people? Separated them from their families. That's what crack did, right? It put them in a situation where they no longer had the power of their own decision-making. Addicted to crack. What happens when parents are taken away from their children? The children are left to grow up on their own. And what we are now dealing with is maybe the second, maybe even the third, I don't know, generation of young people who have very little, not all, but I mean some, have very little concept of family, very little concept of community as I knew it, with all these different layers, so that community became their peers. Gangs, crews, there's no family there, all right? So that whole social strata hit very powerfully. So when you add crack cocaine and the implications of crack in the low-income community. So some guys, I remember I was riding down the street one day, and so I was in the Congress, and some young brothers were selling crack on the corner, and we just happened to be driving by at the time when they were, advancing the car. Say, hey, and they looked up and somebody said, oh man, there go Congressman Dellums. And fascinating. A couple of the brothers said, hey bro, I'm just trying to make a living, man. That's all I'm trying to do. Okay? Now take that at face value, that really is what these guys were trying to do. What does that mean for the options that we provide for them? What does it mean that they saw themselves in a place where they had to engage in an activity that debilitated other people that looked like them in community, that is part of the deterioration? And then what happens to the people on the other end as the consumers of that? What happens to them? Then what happens to the ones that end up in prison? Okay? So that if you snorted cocaine and you lived in suburbia, you got this if you got busted. If you got caught holding some crack, you got this. So it changed the dynamic in many ways in our community. So to summarize, I'm saying to you that many of the options were taken away. We still have not confronted poverty the way, we're still not comfortable with dealing with that. We haven't really addressed the drug issues to the extent that we really need to deal with them. There's all the danger involved in all that. There's the violence involved in all of that. And violence at many, many levels, okay? Sometimes it's an overwhelming thought, but it seems to me that if we in community decided that we were no longer going to tolerate living every day in a society where people had to fend for themselves on the margins, what could we do?